Here's something most teams get backwards. They pick a tool first, then try to force their work into it. And that's why 73% of project management implementations fail within the first year. But by the end of this video, I'll show you the exact framework for translating your process maps into any project management tool. If you just mapped your workflows and you're starting at a blank tool thinking, where do I even start? This is your answer. Here's what happens after you finally map out your workflows. You're excited. You've got this beautiful process map on paper or on a whiteboarding tool like Miro. You can see exactly how work should flow. And then you open ClickUp or Asana or Monday.com, whatever tool your company uses, and you just stare at it. You see a blank workspace, buttons everywhere, create space, add folder, new list, and you're thinking, okay, my workflow has these 5 steps, so do I create 5 lists or 5 tasks, or is this a project? What's the difference between a folder and a space anyway? So you start clicking around, you create a project called sales process, you add some tasks. Maybe you set up a board view because you saw someone do that in a YouTube tutorial. You add custom fields because they are there and they look useful. 3 hours later, you've built something. You're not sure what. You show your team and they ask, where do I put my tasks? Is this task in the right place? Do I create subtasks or separate tasks? 2 weeks later, half the team is still managing work in Slack and Google Sheets because your tool setup doesn't match how they actually think about their work. The structure made sense to you while you were building it, but nobody else can figure out where anything goes. Here's why this happens. Your brain thinks in workflows, start to finish, step by step, cause and effect. But project management tools think in objects, workspaces, folders, lists, tasks, subtasks. There's no automatic translation between those two mental models. Research shows that teams with clear structural frameworks before tool implementation have 3.5 times higher adoption rates than teams who figure it out as they go. Because when your team understands the why behind the structure, why this is a list versus a folder, why goals sit at the top, the how becomes obvious. And here's what compounds this. Every tool uses different terminology. What ClickUp calls a list, Asana calls a project. What Notion calls a database, ClickUp calls a table view. So people jump from tool to tool thinking the next one will be magically solve their problems, when the real issue is they don't have a universal language for their work structure. The issue isn't learning every feature of your tool. The real issue is understanding your work structure so clearly that you can build it in any tool. So here's the framework that changes everything. The 3-step translation process we use to build single source of truth in any tool. I'll use ClickUp as the example, but these principles work in Asana, Monday, Notion, or whatever you're using. First, map your ICOR output elements to your tool structure. Here's how it works in ClickUp specifically. Your goals become ClickUp goals. That's a dedicated object that sits above everything else. Your projects, work streams, and operations all become folders. Inside each folder, you create lists for the specific workflows. Your tasks become ClickUp tasks. That's it. Don't overcomplicate it. In Asana, it looks different but follows the same logic. Goals are portfolios, projects are projects, tasks are tasks. In Monday, same hierarchy, different names. The tool doesn't matter, the mapping principle does. Second, replicate your process map as a workflow inside your tool. Remember the client sales call workflow from the process mapping video? Create a list called sales pipeline. Set up statuses that match your workflow steps. Offer call, booked, prep, in progress, follow up, closed. Now every task flows through these statuses visually at a list view so you can see everything sequentially. Same data, different perspectives. This is your process map brought to life. The key is using your tool's custom views to show the same work in different ways based on what each person needs to see. Third, implement single source of truth through context and communication. This is where most teams completely fail. They build a perfect structure, then all the actual communication still happens in Slack, Microsoft Teams, Google Chat and email. Here's the rule. Every conversation about a task happens in that task's comments. Every decision gets documented there. every file gets attached there. Your tools notification center, ClickUp's inbox, Asana's inbox, Monday's notification becomes your command center. We check our ClickUp inbox first thing every morning. It shows us exactly what needs our attention. No searching through Slack threads, no digging through email, everything in one place. This exact structure I implemented in big corporate, and we were able to manage over 16,000 tasks per month inside Asana without anything falling through the cracks. So here's what changes if you do this. Your team stops asking, where is that task? Your communication lives where your work lives, and your tool finally serves your workflows instead of creating confusion. So here's what you do starting this week. Open your project management tool, map your output elements to its structure. Goals at the top, projects, work streams, operations as main containers, tasks as the work. Pick one workflow and build it with clear statuses. If you want to build a full productivity system end-to-end, grab our free ICOR Journey Starter Kit below. You will get a 120-page PDF playbook, an 11-lesson course, magic slides and growth assignments, everything you need to get started completely free. Now, if you want to see the complete ClickUp setup we use daily to run the paperless movement, check out this video next. I'll show you our actual workspace, every custom view we use, and how everything connects.